life story. Well, recently I caught up with Maureen in the Shelbourne Hotel in Dublin after she had received not one but two major Lifetime Achievement Awards.
You know, to be honoured by the Irish is the greatest wish of an Irish person. And if you're not honoured by the Irish, then all the other awards that come your way are not quite what they would be if they were from home.
This is home and always has been home, Ireland. You have never ever forgotten Ireland.
No.
You love the country and you love its people.
I sure as heck do. I was born here, I was schooled here. I did all of the things you're supposed to do. I did them all here in Ireland. And it was a half Irishman who gave me the wonderful career that I've had. And a lot of people don't know he's half Irish, Charles Laughton. His mother was from County Cork.
Charles himself was born in England and started his own hugely successful acting career in London's West End. Hollywood eventually beckoned, and he went on to star in many memorable films, winning an Oscar in 1933 for his portrayal of Henry VIII. But it was also Charles Laughton who first spotted Maureen O'Hara's movie star potential. Can I take you back to age 16, 17? You were already...
I wish you could.
In your memory. you were already a very successful actress here in Dublin. You were playing the Abbey. I assumed at that stage movies in America was the last thing in your mind.
Oh no, I was a theatre snob. My dream was to be the top leading lady of the Abbey. I never thought of going further than that. That to me was the greatest honour that could have been bestowed on me.
Well, as we now know, Maureen was to change her mind. She was asked to go to London to make a screen test for a film, but initially she turned it down until she listened to some good advice.
There was a very fine actress at the gate, and Mommy and I were having a coffee with her. And Mommy told her how we had received a message from England for me to come over and make a test, and that Mommy and Daddy had decided, and I agreed with them, no. And she said, oh, you're absolutely mad, because you can always come back to the Abbey, but you may never, ever be asked to make a screen test again.
And can you remember what that screen test involved?
Oh, yes. If I hadn't choices even now, I wouldn't ever have done it. And I hope to God it's lost, buried and destroyed.
Now, how I would love to show you that screen test, but alas, it's lost in the mists of time. Anyway, Charles Laughton got to see it, and so impressed was he that he in turn showed it to a well-known film producer, and together they signed her up there and then. In fact, by the time Maureen got back home after the screen test, a 7-year contract was waiting for her. And that contract was the start of Maureen's glittering career, although the name Fitzsimons just had to go.
One day he said to me, Maureen, he said, nobody's ever going to get your name right. They'll call you Sid Simmons, Ms. Simmons, Fitzsimons, he said, but they'll never get your name right, and we have to change it. And you can be Maureen O'Mara or Maureen O'Hara. And I said, neither one. I like my name, I like Maureen Fitzsimons, and I'm proud of it. And he said, very well, then you're Maureen O'Hara. That was it.
Maureen's first major role was in the highly acclaimed film Jamaica Inn, which was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. And then she was offered the role of a lifetime, that of Esmeralda in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. But that film was being made in America, and so Maureen had to leave her beloved Ireland and make the long boat journey across the Atlantic. When you were sailing out to America to do the film, your mother was with you, Charles Laughton was with you. You were carrying a terrible secret with you.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I don't want to. Why do you have to talk about unpleasant and unhappy things?
Is it still a very unpleasant thing in your own mind even today?
Yes, yes.
It's because one of the most naive stories I've read in the book.
Well, it proved...
But you were a feisty redhead.
But it proved I was also half of an idiot.
You better tell us what this is about.
Oh, you're a very nasty human being. It was because I permitted somebody to force me into a marriage I didn't want to have anything to do with. I was too young. I didn't make any arrangements to be married. And this gentleman insisted I visit and say hello to him before I went to America. I was packing to go to America that afternoon. And I thought, oh my God, if he doesn't stop ringing the phone. And I said, all right, I'll meet you. Where? And he gave me an address, and I went there, and he had it set up with somebody. I don't know who married me. To this day, I don't know. I had no papers, nothing. Even now, I think, why didn't I stand up and walk out? And it was the marriage was annulled.
It was very
because
quickly
it was never
after
consummated,
Yeah.
and it wasn't considered a real marriage. You know,
It's hard to reconcile that with the Maureen O'Hara that we know, because you are a feisty woman who knows her own mind, who wouldn't do anything she didn't want to do.
That's true, but I'd say that's more today than then, because
as a teenager, yes.
Yeah, you're very young, but then we all do something silly in our lives. I'm sure you did.
Not that stupid.
Come back to Erin, Mavourneen, come back, Haroon, to the land of thy birth.
While Maureen was in America filming The Hunchback of Notre Dame, war broke out, which meant that she had to stay in the States much longer than she had planned. She sorely missed her family back in Ireland and became very homesick. But when she was finally able to return, her stay was short-lived.
I think it was 1947 when I was given permission to go back to Ireland. And boy, I was on the first available transportation. And when I got home, about a day to 2 days later, the phone rang, and it was 20th Century Fox, and they said, you're to come right back to New York immediately. You're going into a film called Miracle on 34th Street.
And you weren't too enamored with that idea, sure you
No,
weren't?
oh, I was furious.
A simple little Christmas story. Who wants to see it? Who wants to go to
Yeah.
the movies to see that, thought you?
So then I had to go. There was nothing I could do. And when I read the script, I knew. I thought, oh boy, this is going to tickle everybody's fancy. And I made it, and it did.
I don't suppose you even want to talk to me.
Something about a present.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but...
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus, that's why. You're just a nice old man with whiskers, like my mother said. And I shouldn't have believed you.
I was wrong when I told you that, Susie. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
But he didn't get me that doesn't make sense, Mommy.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Huh?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them to the first time, you've still got to believe in people. I found that out.
You mean it's like if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes.
I thought so.
Maureen O'Hara was one of the hottest properties in Hollywood. She made more than 60 movies, but it was back here in Ireland that was to be the scene of her greatest triumph. Aficionados may recognise this little village of Cong, but of course back in 1951 it was transformed into Innisfree for The Quiet Man. It's hard to believe now that The Quiet Man nearly didn't happen. John Ford had signed up every member of the cast, but for 7 years he just couldn't get the financial backing to shoot the film.
Over here, we pronounce it Cohan.
John Ford bought that short story in the late 1930s. And it was his dream to make a movie of it. And he already had picked the people he wanted to be in the movie. Every studio read the story and said it was a silly, stupid little Irish story and would never make a penny and would never mean anything. They all turned down the finance of the movie. And Duke and I, or John Wayne, as you know him, used to make fun and say, come on, Pappy, as we called him, Pappy, if we don't get going, we're not going to make the movie. And I'll be too old, I'll be playing the widow woman, and Duke will be playing Victor McLaughlin's role. And so finally, it was John Wayne said, Mr. Ford, would you let me take the script to Herb Yates, the head of Republic Studios? Now, Republic Studios was a little tiny studio that made 10-day westerns, not very prestigious or elegant or anything. So it was a kind of a letdown for Ford to have to permit a script to go to Republic Studios. Anyway, he said, okay, go on, take it. And Duke took it. And the head of Republic read it. And when he read it, he said, silly little Irish story. Never make anything, never be anything. But, and that was the magic word, if the same director and the same producer and the same cast and the same crew make me a Western first, to make up for the money I'm going to lose on this silly Irish story, I will finance it. And we made The Quiet Man, as you know, for $1.5 million, and it became, to this day, it's one of the greatest pictures in the world.
What is the magic about it? Is it the acting? Is it the setting? Is it the direction? What makes it so magical?
Do you want me to be honest with you and hope I'm telling you the truth? John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara.
Shot!
Hey, is that real? She couldn't be.
Ah, nonsense, man. It's only a mirage brought on by your terrible thirst. Come up, Napoleon.
I'm on what is now the third fairway of the Ashford Castle golf course. But back in 1951, this was the location for that very famous scene when Sean Thornton saw Mary-Kate Danaher for the very first time. Now, the director of the movie was almost as famous as its actors. So what did Maureen think of the legendary John Ford?
I thought he was a fascinating, wonderful man, and I was thrilled when I made How Green Was My Valley with him and realized that with all his anger and all of his meanness and everything else, he still was the greatest director of all time. This man was so proud of the fact that he had Irish blood that he was almost too much.
But he was a hugely complex man. And your relationship with him throughout the book is bizarre. He loves you, he hated you, he abused you verbally in front of others, he was jealous of you. What was your relationship with him?
Well, he adored our mother and father. And I think he really would love to have been a member of our family. He was so obsessed with being Irish, and believing that he was a great military hero in Ireland. He believed that. He would love to have been born in Ireland. And he didn't have or get or win all of the things he wanted. He really didn't want all the awards and everything, except as long as you didn't get them. He was just as mean to John Wayne as he was to me.
Did you secretly fancy John Wayne, or did he secretly fancy you?
No. What do you mean?
Maureen, did you like each other? Did you fall in love with each other?
No.
It looked as if you did.
John Wayne?
Yes.
No. No, we were great pals. It's hard to explain. I'm a tough dame, and men have always liked me, not as a woman or a girl, but as a tough guy. And one time, Duke was asked, now, about O'Hara, and he said, greatest guy I ever knew. And that was printed in the newspapers.
Did you take that as a compliment?
Yes. Good God, to have John Wayne say that about you?
Did you never fall in love with any of your leading men?
No. You were working.
I know, but nowadays they all fall in love and get married for a week or two and then find somebody
Come
else.
on, if they want to do that, fine, they can do it. Not me. Not me, good God. I made enough mistakes without adding any.
Bold one you are. And who gave you leave to be kissing me?
So you can talk.
Yes, I can, I will, and I do. And it's more than talk you'll be getting if you step a step closer to me.
Don't worry, you got a wallop.
You'll get over it, I'm thinking.
Well, some things a man doesn't get over so easy.
Is it true that when you biffed John Wayne, or Sean Thornton, in the movie...
That I cracked a bone in my wrist?
Is that true?
Absolutely true. Both Duke and John Ford had been nagging the heck out of me. And I was so mad at Duke, I thought, by God, I've got to sock him in the jaw this afternoon, and I'm going to break his jaw. And I was determined to break his jaw. And I hauled off to hit him. Now, John Wayne was no fool. He saw it coming. You know, it's like a boxer would see it. And as I came through, and look at the film and you'll see it, he put his hand up, and my hand snapped off the top of his fingers, and it cracked a bone in my wrist. And what did John Ford and John Wayne do? Sent me back to work. Oh, yes.
Serves you right for being so angry and trying to hurt them.
Oh, no, I was really angry. I could have socked both of them, but I only tried to sock one.
Not a woman to cross. Anyway, The Quiet Man was up for 7 Oscars, but surprisingly, Maureen O'Hara's name was taken off the shortlist at the very last minute. Someone had deliberately sabotaged her.
I don't know who it was. I have
You
no
have
idea.
your suspicions.
Yeah,
You think it was John Ford.
yeah.
Why on earth?
Because nobody was ever supposed to get anything more than he got. Duke didn't get a nomination. Ward Bond didn't get a nomination. I think Barry Fitzgerald did, but I would think he had to let one of the nominations go through. But I don't know. I only suspect.
Well, he handed you a present.
Oh, that's right. About a week after that fiasco, I went into his office to say hello. And when I went into the office, he threw a box at me and it hit me. And he said, "That's for what was stolen from you." And I opened the box and it was a gold bracelet with a gold Oscar hanging off of it.
Can you understand a man like that?
He was so brilliant. When you watched him work, you couldn't help but admire him, admire his ability, admire what he was able to do with a bunch of actors and a crew. And the whole crew felt the same way. But every day, we used to call it being in the box. Every day somebody was in the box. And we'd say, "Who's in the box today? Who's in the box today?" It could be Jimmy Stewart, it could be me, it could be John Wayne. And the one in the box got nagged, insulted, interminably all day long.
Now, I couldn't come this far without visiting this spot. And unfortunately, that's all that's left of the little whitewashed cottage where Sean Thornton and Mary Kate lived happily ever after. There is a restoration programme ongoing, and I do hope it succeeds because, after all, this little cottage is part of cinematic history. But for all lovers of The Quiet Man, there is still one question that remains unanswered to this very day. And that question is, what did Maureen O'Hara whisper in John Wayne's ear? Some people have their own theories.
I suppose she just said, "Well done."
She probably whispered, "I really enjoyed my time with you, John Wayne."
I suppose "I love you" or something like that, I would imagine.
Same as I say to my wife, "I love you."
Final question.
Yeah.
And I know you'll answer this. What did you whisper in John Wayne's ear at the end of the movie?
Don't waste your breath talking.
Maureen, what
nothing.
did you whisper?
No way. Nobody. John, we had a deal, and that was that John Wayne would never tell, John Ford would never tell, and I would never tell. John Wayne, unfortunately, is dead. John Ford, unfortunately, is dead. I'm still alive, but I promise you, I will never, ever tell. If you watch the film, John Ford asked me to say what I said, and I didn't want to say it, because he wanted a certain expression from Duke.
John Wayne.
Watch that piece of film, and when I said what I said, Duke turns around and looks at me like that, and Ford got exactly what he wanted.
Maureen O'Hara, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Maureen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now tell us, what did you say to Joe?